Hello, this is Everett Pierce, and it is January the 22nd, 122. 122 is used on E equals MC squared. When you advance the letters, it spells out God. Excuse me. Now, the tree of knowledge, as to many things here, is, and why lawyers back themselves in a corner. Now, if anything, anyone's going to know this, is someone very strong in logic, and the side effect to that even with chess playing, you will back yourself up in a corner. You have to be, well, it has a purpose, just like me putting my videos out, is I need to use my skill set to back you up in a corner in a way of, you're going to say, how in the hell could Everett not be Albert Einstein, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, and Jesus? Okay, that's a skill set that you can use to your advantage. Okay, but in the court system, when you're trying to prove someone's innocence, is you can't, it's wise not to back yourself up in a corner. You have to use the 5 elements of energy. So in terms of like hierarchy, you could have air, water, food, and sex. And what would be the 5th item for 1 factor? The 5th item is punctuality. So if there's 5 items, okay, now look at this. We have a tree and we got leaves here everywhere, and I cleaned it up yesterday. Now if I just come out here and said, oh shit, my tree just dumped a bunch of trees, using a lawyer perspective to it, you can make a power observation of other trees around here. If it just, my observation, I notice there's no other tree that has these similar leaves, then I would say, without a doubt, we hold these truths to be self-evident that these leaves are mine. But in the event, I was in a neighborhood where we had, my neighbor would say, my neighbor had this same tree. And I make an observation of him, and I find that he likes to, from his behavior, intent, from my observation, he likes to be lazy. So one day I come out here and I see a bunch of leaves, and I cleaned it up yesterday, and now we have more leaves. And I find that he has a tree just like mine, you know, because if you have a tree, I mean, it's like, how do you take a leaf off, and then I'm gonna have to do a DNA testing to see if it came from his tree. But all he had to do, using the lazy way out, is blow his leaves over in my yard and let me clean up his mess. And that's what we're seeing, not only in our government, we're seeing it in many facets of our society, where people are pawning off things onto other people and allowing them to do it for them. Does that sound familiar? Well, it should, because that's hard-rooted into slavery. So, I mean, you still have this element of slave master, meaning God, and you have slave and the slave. But people have taken it to a different dimension and say, instead of changing their concepts of things, they're going to find a different way to enslave people. So that person over there, we're just using it as a parable, he wants to be lazy, and he sees that I'm always adamant out here keeping my yard clean, is he's going to put that labor onto me. And I come out here, if I'm going to be an attorney, teaching you how, you know, to be a lawyer of lawyers, is I'm going to look at it and say, wait a minute, these leaves just look like those leaves. And if I look over his yard, and his yard looks immaculate, and I know that he's, more times than not, that son of a bitch is lazy, then I would have to assume that he just blew his fucking leaves over in my yard. Okay, so now I would take other evolution, like a camera, and set it up so he can't see it, just to make an observation. But if I made a conjecture, and I go over and I go into his face and I say, hey, why did you blow your leaves in my yard? Because it may not even be him. Maybe his wife. Because chances are, if he's lazy, then chances are his wife is lazy because of classical conditioning, where you actually are subjecting each other to a certain behavior of things. So if I put a camera up and I got him on camera, high definition camera, him blowing the leaves over here, then that's not conjecture. That is evidence or exhibits that I would use. Now, if I don't have evidence, and I have that's what in the court of law, you may not have hardcore substantial evidence. And that's where the chicken concept comes in. Of course, our court system don't call it the chicken concept, because just the sounds of it doesn't sound authoritative. Okay, so now an attorney has to use everything every tool available to say it looks like a chicken, it sounds like a chicken. So now, even though I didn't catch him to do this, now I have to catch him of his intent. Now, if I proved in his intent that 80-90% of the time he's being lazy, or she, then I'm building, it's like a puzzle. And with our court system, especially you're trying to prove the innocence of someone and you don't have DNA, you don't have hardcore video, there are other means to bring in the element of we hold these truths to be self-evident. Because we know, what we know is the human behavior. You cannot take out the human behavior. And people are going to get, if they're lazy, they're also going to get careless. So all I have to do is establish beyond a reasonable doubt that my neighbor is lazy. So now you're saying, okay, what is the likelihood? Okay, so if a jury of my peers, of my neighborhood, and everyone come in and I say, everyone's seen me out here being immaculate, clean up, keeping things in order, and they've seen him, and I come forward and I say, and I come with conviction. I own it and I sell it. And I've seen it from every perspective, because I don't want to put conjectures out there or an accusation accusing him of something that he isn't, because you're also be defeating the purpose of our justice system. Okay, so I would look at the behaviors of his family, so of his mother, and if he has children, and what they do. And if I notice in the last, say, year or 5 years, he's the only one doing his yard work with occasional, his son out there. But I would also establish his son was only out there because he wanted money from him. Okay, but 99% of the time, he's doing his own yard work. Well, I just put we hold these truths to be self-evident. So my neighbors, when I say, well, I don't have video of this guy blowing his leaves in my yard, but this is what I come up with. Bang, 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 bang. It's the 5-pointed star. Meaning, we hold these truths to be self-evident. That conviction that proves and brings intentions out, unlike you've ever seen. So if I'm representing the owner here, I would be able to convict you with 50 ways of Sunday. Even if I don't have DNA that this leaf is DNA to your tree, or I have video, is you are going, just like forensic science, when you're in criminals, they always leave something behind. And that is a statement of truth. What you know of energy, true and false. So energy has to lie to us, and it also has to tell us the truth. And if you develop your skill sets, you'll be able to identify them. And not only will you be able to identify them, you'll start bringing them in abundance. And that's why in our court system they say beyond a reasonable doubt. That means your exhibits, your explanation to this, may not be clear cut. You don't have DNA, you don't have video, but you have established intent. So now when you get down to intent and say, okay, in the last 5 years, Everett has done this to his yard, and just every day, day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out. And I say, and with my intentions, you say, well, another thing is like, whenever it makes a conjecture, an accusation, I've never seen anything where he would illustrate that type of conjecture or an allegation if he wasn't solid on what he believed in. So, and you say, so in a court of law, my jury, my neighbors here would say, okay, they would rule in my favor. They would say, the odds are, in terms of gambling, if you're going to a casino, it's like you want to put yourself in the highest of percentage. Meaning, if you have to decide right now, my neighbors had to decide who is the good Samaritan and who's being fucking lazy, they would say, obviously, it's Everett, without a doubt. And we'll take it to our grave. Because you also got to, something as simple as a tree and a leaf. And you say, well, what if someone's counterfeiting, framing me up? Well, maybe it's not a neighbor who is being lazy. Okay, but if I establish that, yeah, he's lazy, but I've never seen him put that load of work onto someone else. It might be because he's pissed off that neighbor over there, and he figures he's going to maximize his potential because he knows my intentions and how I do things. All he has to do is make it look like my neighbor who's putting the work onto me. So when you expand in terms of being a lawyer, you have to look at all variables, and something as simple as your power observation. So when I look and I see his kind of relationship with other people, and I see that other people have this anger, I can't rule that out as well. So that's why 50 Ways to Sunday, once we start digging into it, in depth to it, it starts painting a picture like a puzzle. And when you put the pieces to the puzzle together, you don't need hardcore conviction like DNA or video to prove. You just need to know how to extract information, extract intention, because intentions is difficult. Because we have like actors, like we see in Hollywood, they're good. They own it and they sell it. Not all actors and actresses do that, but you get people get on that stand, they'll lie their ass off, and you'd swear to God they were God's angel. But that's part of their act. That's part of their acting. So when we watch actors and actresses out there, they're also teaching our people how to be good actors. And our court system is also accommodates that. Is that we know we're going to have our lawyers and people who are guilty. In a court system, there's two things you automatically know. Is that, well, there's a third element. Is someone's got to be guilty and someone's innocent. And then there's the third element. Is neither one is guilty and neither one is innocent. So when you factor in, and for the fact that you cannot take out human behavior, everyone's guilty, down to the judge, to the jury, to the bailiff, everyone. So the dynamics to this, when I say 50 Ways to Sunday, is if you can't take that element of humans, everyone is automatically guilty. So we have the saying is, you're innocent until proven guilty. Well, it sounds good. But the contradictory to that is, if you can't take the human behavior out, is everyone's guilty until they are able to prove their intentions and what they have done in the last year or 5 years or 10 years, that they have worked toward developing themselves of more of a civilized way, in a high functionality. So if I'm establishing here, and if I'm a judge and I see a lot of functionality on this guy and low functionality on this guy, that itself snitches itself out. If I have to make a choice and I have to go in front of the pearly gates of God and say, God says, why did you find him guilty? And why did you find him innocent? And say, he had a lot of functionality. And what I know with functionality is, it just it's like, why would you cut your own foot off? Why would you cut your own foot off? You wouldn't. Someone of high functionality just wouldn't go out of his way, out of anger and hatred, to destroy this next person. It just defies logic. It defies human behavior. So that's why you have to know all the facets when it comes to human behavior and all the energy that is around us, to start painting a picture like a puzzle. Energy puts things to us like a puzzle. And it's it's the evolutionary process. As you're evolving and you open up your mind, like I said, as Albert Einstein, using your objective and creative mind, you start collective knowledge and you start painting a picture. And it's like a quarter. Do you have to see the reverse side of the quarter to know that the other side is a tails or has got an eagle on it or whatever? No. You just need enough information in there, like in our court system, is beyond a reasonable doubt. I mean, you as a juror has to go home and live with yourself. And you had to make a decision, like energy does to us all the time, is you may not like either choice. Like I was seeing in this election, a lot of people didn't like Trump and they didn't like Hillary. They didn't know what to do. So these people are going to use simple math. They're going to look back in the last 24 years of our presidents and say 24 years, 16 of those years were Democrats, and 8 years of that was a Republican. And considering we had real estate fell, our stock market fell, our jobs are leaving our country. I mean, we are going bankrupt. You say, well, we are a great nation. Well, it's like when you become extinct, and you got to put that on your resume. Don't be proud that that's nothing to be proud of. You say, well, we built the wall and we did this, and it's like, no, and I don't mean the wall that, or borderlines. I'm talking about, when I say we built a wall, I mean, what wall Trump is going to build is going to surpass in functionality than any borderline that we've ever had. So that's why, how a simple tree can teach you how to be a lawyer. It could teach you how to be a doctor. It can teach you anything. And that's why they're here. Because of the 50 ways to Sunday of how I can teach you. Open up they say people are this is the book of God and his revelations. Okay, not to disrespect any religion out there. Okay, because some things had to be in word form because people were not using their objective mind like I'm using here. Is the book of God is everything around you. Everything around you. And it's not tainted by man. That book can be altered, especially I know with the human behavior of man and extinction. As a lot of spiritual books have depicted me in reverse. Some things they depict how I actually taught it. So when I do come forward and I say, I'm so-and-so, I'm so-and-so, they have conditioned you to think, now I am the Antichrist. Because if this sidewalk, and I taught everyone, this sidewalk is white, and then 1,000 years down the road, is that Jesus taught the black wall, or the black sidewalk. And I said, no, the sidewalk was white. You're the Antichrist. Oh my God, you're a demon. You're the devil. Get out of here, demon. So now you can kind of open up your mind from a lawyer perspective and also evolution perspective as to how they can make we the people, make we the nation into the Antichrist, the anti-whatever, or the anti-Trump. All they have to do is flip that coin. If Trump got reincarnated again, and Trump says, hey, this is how I do it, and they say, oh, you're the anti-Trump. They can do that too. But there's a lot of things that they are not putting in that equation, and then why they fail all the time. You have to be on a higher level of understanding of evolution and thinking to even remotely to come close to pulling something like that off. So, what they say in the terms of let the truth set you free, the powers behind that. And what truth to set me free is I'm not going to back down of who the fuck I am. No, because mine is self-preservation, and I want you all to get together like a pieces to that car motor. And it's a highly functional machine, so we can go out there to the remaining 99.9999% of the people out there, and we can bring conviction, and we can bring them hope, we can bring them faith, and we all been in that situation. I'm in that situation. I might be in the streets tomorrow, but I can guarantee you, I'll be doing a video showing you how I'm getting my dinner, what restaurant I'm finding my dinner out of, and how I know which one has been spoiled and not to eat. I mean, I would just keep taking it to a different dimension. I don't give a fuck. It's about self-preservation. And the thing that you got to know about me is high functionality and self-preservation. You cannot take that out of me, no matter how you paint me or display me, and like we see with fake news. And that's one of the things with my apprentice Donald Trump, to round up my people. Abbreviations, to round up my people. And that's exactly what he's doing. And there's a lot of people, like a 2-year-old kid, dragging their feet. And I don't want to go. I don't want to go. That means you got to do some work. You got to accept some accountability. You got to do something. It's not a fucking day spa. You know, but a lot of people like to perceive it that way. But I want a butler, and I want a slave, and I want this. Entitlement. You know, Michael Jordan wouldn't gotten his recognition if we had not had people like me passing the 13th Amendment. And he hasn't done his part to put himself into history, or Mike Tyson, or Denzel Washington. The reason why I keep bringing these individuals up, because if I died for anything, knowing that these three sons of bitches came out here and made an impact to this society, you make me proud. I would die and take a bullet in the head any fucking day of the year. Because that's what we got to focus on. Because now we're at a higher functionality. Are we at our best? Hell no. We're not even close. We're not even, I mean, technically, we're not even out of the fucking gate. So, you say, hey, boy, you cuss a lot. And it's like, at some point, you got to see me at my worst. And you have to see me at my best. I can talk like someone from Harvard, and I'm so superior. But the only downside to that is a lot of people, when they start approaching you, is like, oh, look at that rich asshole. Oh, he thinks he's better than me. I mean, just simply with the knowledge in which I tell you with, people get offended by, because they reflect it upon their knowledge and their ability, and they say, oh, he thinks he's smart. You think you know it all. You know how many, I paid a nickel for every time someone told me that. And I say, fuck it. You know, it's like, I got to be myself. And if I can't be myself, then fucking kill me. You know, I'm about self-preservation. I'm about we the people. I'm about unity. And people get into this word slinging stuff. Like the media out there. They sling these words. And the reason why lawyers lose against me, and why the media lose against me in terms of debate, if we was in the court system, is because I approach it with the 5 points of energy. They might come into there with a 2 point, or maybe even a 3 point. I come into a 5 point and I move it to the 6 point. And that's where I make them look, sound so pathetic. That's why in the seventh heaven they stop challenging me. And we move it to a different level, you know, of acting. We try to simulate certain things as a learning mechanism. But with the especially the Democrats in the seventh heaven, they just like, you know, with Clint Eastwood, you know, the cocking back of the gun, click. And it's like the Democrats tried to challenge me, and it was like, and then we was in my debate, and it appeared that they had won the argument. And everyone, the rest of the seventh heaven, they said, oh shit. Because if I allowed you to win an argument, it's like cocking back the gun. I'm cocked and I'm loaded. And I'm just waiting for you to mess up. And then and like a 44 Magnum, go ahead, punk, make my day. Like Clint Eastwood. I mean, he owned it and sold it in Dirty Harry. So in the seventh heaven, the Democrats, when everyone saw that, it was like, oh shit, Everett's ready to go. You might as well forfeit. You better put the white flag up, because we have never seen Everett. Once he cocks back, means you're gonna pull a gun out. You better be willing to pull it. And if you have this illusion that you won against me, just know that I'm about ready to hit you with a 50-pound sledgehammer. So the Democrats finally learned, and when they saw that they won that point, and someone in Democrats say, whoa, okay, we give up, Everett. Then I stop and explain to them that this 100-pound sledgehammer, how I was going to hit them in the head with it, and they were going to deliver it to me. Because of their behaviors, the human behavior, which is a lot better than what you see here, of course. Seventh heaven, sixth heaven is a lot different. And they try to learn from it. And it's like, I am like 50 million shades to Sunday. You know, so when they see that, that's one of the characteristics about me, and why with Dirty Harry, the cocking the back of the lever, that comes from me. If you feel like you won an argument with me, just know that I'm going to hit you with a 100-pound hammer. And the thing about it is, you're not going to like it, unfortunately. But how else are you going to learn in your evolution? It's like a bee sting. It's like, if you're never stung by a bee, how are you not to appreciate and to stay away when you recognize a beehive? So, putting the hammer, which is, the symbolism. When you hear the click, and it's not necessarily a click, it's the symbolism of it, is, and you say, oh shit, the Democrats won that point, and then people just stop and say, oh shit. People stand back, because that 100-pound fucking hammer is going to come down, and he will do it with no hard feelings. Because you came forward, you want to argue a point, and you're still not coming to the full extent of it, then I have no choice but to put the 100-pound hammer on your ass, in hopes that you will learn each and every time that I sting you, that you're going to be better, and you're going to give me a better challenge next time. That's the whole principle behind that. So you shake it off, and you say, okay, Everett stung the fuck out of me. Okay, let's try it again. But at the point they kept getting stung, they say, shit, forget this shit. Okay, let's go into this acting. We'll simulate, and we'll learn different dynamics of it. I said, okay, we'll go there too. So, and I ain't trying to be pious and pat myself on the back. I'm just giving you a fair warning. If you debate me, and that's why I have to have 90% of my votes on the seventh heaven. I have to know my shit. And believe me, I know it well. But we also have handicap. I mean, I have to have 90%, and you have to have 11%. So if I get as soon as I reach my 90%, you're done, you're through. And the only person that came close to doing that, it was Donald Trump. But I had one of my electoral college flip to his side to put me at 89.9%, but that was a simulation, because we wanted to see if he can convince the seventh heaven. Not only have the votes, but you also have to convince him you own it and you can sell it. And he's the only one in the seventh heaven who was able to pull that shit off. And that's why I brought him here under the term Trump, to round up my people. Because the people here are operating under their human behaviors, the tree of good and evil. You're going to need someone like Trump, if his skill sets that he's proven to me, of being able to carry out the job and get it done. So I'm proud to know Mr. Trump. And he was a lower ranking general. So that's why we have to appreciate all levels of people and not underestimate people. With our General Mattis, I love that aspect, because our enemies out there that want to kill us will underestimate someone, because is just for the fact that when you look at him, you say, well, how could a guy like that be an awesome general? Wait and see. But anytime you can give your enemy, where they, using their human behavior, they automatically, never judge a book by its cover. They're going to judge Mattis by his cover. And that will be their demise. And they will feel compelled to do so, because that's part of your human behavior. That's why you're supposed to refine your human behavior. So when you see a little guy as my general, when we're showing up in your doorstep, you know that that little general there, he's going to give you such a kick in the ass, you're going to taste his soul for 1,000 years. Yeah, I don't have to bring in a big general. And it's like, all that means is you get to taste his shoe a little bit, a little longer. You'll even taste his laces. So hopefully you're laughing with me, but it's also a bunch of truism that I put forward, me being a hunter, and I don't own this house. The lady that lives with me, out of the love of her heart, allows me to live here, so I don't end up in the street. It's called unity, and I try to do the best thing that I can do to keep things and keep the house maintenance. So we work together on things. And that's not what we're seeing out there amongst our media, amongst our, or, you know, I'm kind of disappointed with Lady Gaga, you know, because I have, you know, Poker Face. I mean, I love that song. But then again, you know, I have no control over people's behaviors and stuff. I would have thought Lady Gaga would have gotten on to the Trump train. But then again, we have democracy. People have their own choices. So anyways, we're going to end it right there. But as you can see, with an illustration of my intent, a taste of what I can bring forward. And this is me at my worst. I don't have $1 billion. I don't have a staff of people. I'm a one-man band in that respect. You know, I'm bringing my teachings. Everything that I have is from previous lives, from previous experiences. So with that, we'll end it right there. This is Everett Pierce on this 22nd day of January 2017, and of this version of the Tree of Knowledge. You know, and I do hope I can, someday with Geraldo, watching him show is, you know, he was a TV host, you know, and the spiritual awakening I had with him. So I hope I get the opportunity to, if nothing else, to thank him. And I would like to work with him and show him the dynamics of putting yourself into a corner and how to take yourself out of that corner, back yourself out where now you're on a 5-point. And because of, you know, I don't know all the lawyers, I haven't met all the lawyers, but if there's one lawyer I would want to take in as an apprentice, it would be Geraldo. And I guess he's moved into the area of being a lawyer. So what makes Geraldo is what we saw back in the 70s and the 80s. You know, me as a young kid, I mean, it's like, you know, even if he's right or wrong, okay, I mean, that's part of our evolution for ourselves to kind of refine ourselves, you know, refine or fine tune. But, you know, that's why, like, if, say, Metallica starts being more conventional of the masses of people say, well, okay, Metallica's sold out, they're not, because Metallica became Metallica because of what their first initial music came out, and that's what they appreciate. So when they deviate from that, I'm just saying that as a parable, is I love Metallica. I like the song, you know, Masters of Puppets, Judas Priest, Turbo Lover, you know. But when we see, you know, singers and anything, like if there's any deviation to this yard and these leaves and people here, that's why power observation is one of your most powerful tools, because you're going to use that power observation while you have eyesight. Why do you have the sense of feeling and tasting and smelling? The 5 points, our 5 senses, is you're going to use that collective information, the high functionality, because there are going to be some things of energy, tools, secrets of energy, awesome shit